I moved from Blackheath to Charlton, and I grew up in Charlton, spent all my childhood there, and I went to school at Fosdene Road. When I was single, I moved into Victoria Way with my mum and dad. I was only 5 years old then, and I grew up there. And all down here was a pig farm. And where the big car park is at the base there, at the bottom, that used to be a big lake, and it was fed by natural springs. And when I was a little boy, living down Victoria Way, we used to come up to this big lake with our little jam jars, and we used to catch tadpoles and newts and all things like that. When they built the estate, they had to fill all that lake in, and they drove piles in this farm to get the footing for these flats. And when they was driving the piles, they lost a lot of the piles because they just went down and down and down, and they were putting piles on top of piles on top of piles to get a footing. There was loads of factories along the main road. It was very industrial round here, very industrial. But Charlton's nothing like it used to be now. Yeah, Woolwich was a military town. In them days, Woolwich was a military town. I mean, most of the barracks have been demolished now that used to be at Woolwich. But Woolwich was one mass of soldiers. If you went to Woolwich, especially on a Sunday night, if you went to Woolwich on a Sunday night in Woolwich Square, 9 times out of 10 you'd end up with a big fight with the soldiers and the barra boys. Oh yeah, we used to stand in the doorway of the little kinema and watch all the big punch-ups in them days, because you used to have all the old street vendors like doing the escapology acts and all that, all chained up and escaping and all things like that. And then the old preachers all preaching their pieces in Woolwich Square. It used to be quite hilarious in Woolwich Square on a Saturday night and Sunday night. When I left GC Hurrell & Co, I got called up for the forces and I went into the army. I was in the Royal Engineers to start with, and then they decided, when they had the medicals, that I was too small and underweight to be in the Royal Engineers. So I then got transferred to the Royal Army Service Corps. And then I served the rest of my 2 years service in the Royal Army Service Corps. And I was stationed at Aldershot for the best part of my time because I was kept back for the Army Boxing Championships. And the Army Boxing Centre was at Aldershot in Queen's Avenue. When I came out of the Army, I went to work for the United Glass, which was in Ancrenope Lane, Charlton. When the UGB moved up to Lancashire, we all got made redundant, and I then went to the Dreadnought Seamen's Hospital at Greenwich, King William Walk, Greenwich, and I worked for 38 years there. When I came out of the forces and met my wife, we courted for a couple of years, and then we got married and we moved to Wellington Gardens, and we had a little flat over a shop in Wellington Gardens for a few years, and then we eventually got this flat, which we've always appreciated because it was a very nice flat and we was happy here. And this was a nice estate, it always was a nice estate, and it was always a very friendly estate, and the children all seemed to get on pretty good. And we had an arrangement in this particular block that any arguments amongst the children, we didn't argue about it, the parents didn't argue about it. because while you were still arguing, the children was back playing together. So we decided to let them all do their own thing and go their own way. And that's the way we done it, and it was a very happy block. Well, yeah, I love the view. Yeah, I love the view that I've got here. That's, you know, one thing I've always enjoyed through living here, like all the time I've lived here. But of course, in the winter, you get an even clearer view because all those big trees down there are not in leaf. All the leaves are gone off of the trees and you can see right up the river then.
Mum and Dad came to England in the late 50s from Guyana, which is in South America. Dad came over first, and then Mum came about 18 months later because England was the promised land that was going to give them everything. And we lived in Penge, which is in South East London, in Bromley Borough. It was okay, and I lived there till I was about 18, and then we decided that, well, I decided to move out, fell in love, decided to move somewhere else, get my own place, and I ended up in Eltham. Eltham was not a good move for me at all. Very racist at the time, extremely racist, and I was not happy there. Some days I would never go out, and because at the time I had a young baby, and because her dad's white and I'm obviously black, we had a lot of problems. I used to go out with her and people used to spit at me in the street, call me names, just on sight. And it was horrible. I hated it. Would never go out at times. And it was strange, when I was on my own I got the problems, but we didn't really get them when he was there with me. So that was quite different, I suppose. And then that was only ever a temporary housing. And then we were offered a place here on Cherry Orchard Estate. Sounded nice to me. I seemed really pleased because I thought, oh, that'd be a lovely place to live. Cherry Orchard Estate sounds lovely. We moved here in September 93, and at the time it was not that nice a place to live, I have to admit. It was a very dark, dismal looking place. Reminded me of a prison. It seemed very dark and not a nice place to be, just somewhere you came home, closed your door, that was it. I never knew my neighbours. And then as time went on, and I got used to living here because it was completely different from living in Eltham. We had no racism here. I didn't ever feel people were against me because of my colour. People just accepted who you were, which is why I wanted to stay here. And then things got better when Charlton Triangle took over and said, look, we'll do all these things for you. And my main thing at the time, stupid as it may sound, was about getting a garden. They promised me a garden, and I fought tooth and nail to get my garden. However, they did not let me down. I got my garden. But it was all the other things they did. They opened up the estate, they refurbished our flats. They did so much, and it really made me proud to live here. And I never thought I'd say that at first. But I still prefer living in Charlton to how Eltham was. I did not like it at all. And things have just got from better and gone from better and better and better living here. And I'm really proud to live here now. And there's a good community sense around here now, which there wasn't at first, but we never had any of that in Eltham. In Eltham, I wouldn't have talked to anyone because I'd have been afraid of what the reaction would have been. But here, I really feel this is where I want to spend the rest of my life living. And I do feel comfortable and welcomed and part of this community.
I lived in Charlton all my life. Victoria Way, went to school. Yes, went to the Girls' Life Brigade, and thoroughly enjoyed life, really. Had lots of friends. I still keep in touch with a lot of them, you know.
It was here, where this is now, it was just a cherry orchard farm there, and this used to be the old cherry orchard.
There used to be animals there, didn't there?
Yeah,
horses.
Yeah. Horses, everything, yeah. Cows, everything there. Proper farm. But I mean, now there's only one cherry tree left here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, just where those houses, it used to be a farm there. And while they built back off the road, there used to be a pond there. That's why they didn't build them right, all the same length. Some are farther back, you find in Marlborough Lane.
No, we didn't have a bathroom. You had the tin bath.
Had the old tin bath.
Tin bath that came out the weekends.
Stoked the copper up.
Heat the water in the copper, and that, you know. And that. We had an outside toilet. Had a nice big garden though. It was nice there. Yeah. But it was just something you didn't know any different, really, did you? I mean, it was part of life though.
It was always, yeah.
Have a bathroom was absolutely out of this
It was
world.
a luxury
Yeah.
to have a bathroom.
I don't think any of the houses had a bathroom, did they?
No. 1940 to 1945 was in Burma. Yes. Beginning in the 1940s from the campaign, went through to Kohima, Battle of Kohima, right through Rangoon that way. Yes, I was in the Airborne Artillery, 123rd Airborne Artillery.
I was younger, you see. I went evacuated to Yorkshire. I did actually. I went to school in Yorkshire, but then after I left school, I worked in the sewing shop, as all young ladies did, and that was the worst 3 weeks of my life. I still see it in this, and this machine going round and round and round. Whoever got those navy trousers after that lot, they couldn't have been much good. But the reason why they built the factory, I know there was quite an upheaval because they were getting rid of the cherry, the actual greenage.
Well, so many people coming out of the army and getting married, and that, so they had to find somewhere for them to live. So they built these estates.
The tree courts would have been first.
They were the first ones built, tree courts, and then they built these. 52, I think these were built.
My sister-in-law had a neighbour who was stationed at Woolwich Barracks in the Royal Artillery, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he phoned up he didn't phone up, he got in touch and he said he'd like to come and see her because she was living with us in the Woolwich Road. And so we said, yes, that's fine. And he brought Ted along with him. And that was it.
Yeah.
We just got very friendly. And,
that's right, yes. Couldn't get rid of me.
Been together now how long?
Oh, 60 odd years.
60 odd years.
Yeah. 1947 we got married.
Makes you like your eggs on the Jersey side. Hep, 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 hep. On the mellow side.